People keep selling Bacon's rebellion like an origin story for American freedom. Brave settlers versus corrupt government, a rough draft of the revolution. But if you want the version that still makes sense after the myths get stripped off, it looks different. Bacon's rebellion is what happens when a colony built on land. Hunger and coerced labor starts to wobble, and the solution is not justice. The solution is management. Redirect the anger sideways, pick a scapegoat, and call the grab security. Virginia in the 1670s was a tobacco machine. Land is money. Labor is everything. The best land is controlled by the political elite, and the frontier is crowded with people living one bad season away from collapse. And the frontier is not empty, not free, not waiting. It is occupied, governed, remembered. It is already someone's home, already planted, hunted, buried in. The part that gets erased first is that native nations were not hostile from the beginning in some automatic movie villain way. There was diplomacy, there were deals, there was trade. There were years where coexistence, tense but real, held. Native communities made room, absorbed newcomers, and tried to keep peace in a world that suddenly had far more mouths and far more weapons. Then comes the labor trap. Indentured servants arrive on contracts, years of work in exchange for passage. When the contract ends, they are free. But freedom arrives with a bill attached, and the bill is paid in desperation: tools, seed, credit, food, and land. In a land economy, being free without land is a slow emergency. So where do newly freed people go? Not to the best riverland, not to the most powerful. They go to the edge, the margin, the frontier. The pressure builds in the place where the system dumps people it has used up. And that's the hinge. It's not that the land was empty. It's that calling it empty is the oldest tool in the kit, because it makes theft sound like geography. Governor Berkeley, representing Virginia's ruling circle, is cautious about full-scale war. War is expensive and unpredictable, and it can disrupt trade and alliances that benefit the top. Frontier settlers hear that and translate it into something simpler: you protect your interests, not our lives. Then a chain of local violence, and retaliation expands into something bigger. The conflict spreads. Raids and counter-raids. Fear becomes a daily condition. Everyone says security, and security becomes the costume. Put it on, and violence gets to call itself policy. It turns intrusion into defense and theft into settlement. Enter Nathaniel Bacon, young, connected, ambitious, angry, and very good at turning a messy crisis into a single, usable story. He doesn't invent the rage. He gives it a target and a flag. He offers a simple bargain. Give me power, and I will give you permission. Permission to strike. Permission to seize. Permission to call it justice. And once the target becomes all Indians in general, the moral brakes come off. It stops being about specific conflicts and becomes a sweeping license. Allies, neighbors, the uninvolved, the inconvenient, all get folded into one category. That category becomes disposable. This is where both sides' language gets used to blur the structure. Yes, violence existed on multiple sides, but there is a difference between defending a homeland and expanding a business model. There is a difference between resisting intrusion and building a system that needs intrusion to survive. Native resistance wasn't irrational. It wasn't random. It was what happens when more settlers keep arriving, pushing boundaries, taking resources, and then acting, surprised that the boundary doesn't hold. Settlers felt fear. Native communities felt the thing underneath: fear, dispossession. Bacon's forces don't just fight the governor, they attack native communities, because that's how expansion becomes possible. The rebellion is not simply anti-elite. It's also a violent expansion project. With a political cover story, the rebellion turns theatrical in September 1676 when Jamestown burns, smoke, headlines, legend. And then, almost immediately, it collapses. Bacon dies in October, the movement loses its center, the government reasserts control, and the crackdown is severe, including executions, seizures, and punishment. Returns the way it often returns in empires, by making an example. But the most important aftermath is not the hangings or the ashes. It's the lesson absorbed by the ruling class. The fear isn't just that the capital burned. The fear is that the colony contains a large, angry class of poor laborers who might unite those who might demand a different deal, who might point their anger upward instead of outward. So, system hardens. The colony squeezes native autonomy through treaty and coercion, reframing survival as submission and peace as management. Boundaries become tools. Protection becomes conditional. The frontier doesn't calm down. It gets administered. At the same time, the labor system shifts towards something that produces fewer future claimants. Indentured labor is unstable because indentured servants eventually become free people. Free people ask for land. Free people demand wages. Free people carry grudges. Free people can organize. But enslaved Africans, as the legal structure hardens, are treated as inheritable property. Not temporary labor, not a contract, a lifetime. And then their children inherit the cage. That shift isn't just cruelty drifting through history like weather. It's a strategy, a redesign. And then comes the second redesign, the psychological wage. Not prosperity, not fairness, rank. A deal that sounds like this: you might be struggling, but at least you're not black. That sentence is offensive. It is built inside the mind, and it does the same job as a wall. It keeps poor whites invested in a status ladder instead of a justice ladder. It breaks solidarity at the exact point where solidarity would be dangerous to the people on top. It teaches the bottom to police the bottom. And once you've learned to call theft security, you can keep doing it forever. So when people minimize Bacon's rebellion as a messy little uprising, they're not just smoothing a rough chapter, they're protecting a myth. That expansion was innocent, that native resistance was senseless, and that inequality was accidental. But the shape of the story says otherwise. Native nations made space and made agreements and still faced intrusion. Settlers expanded and called it security. The elite survived the crisis not by fixing injustice, but by hardening control, tightening categories, and building a system that could run with fewer future claimants. If the story starts with "they attacked for no reason," the story has already chosen a side. Bacon's rebellion didn't just burn a town, it helped forge a blueprint.